For whatever reason, it seems like the world has convinced us, or just constantly pushes the narrative that it is impossible these days for a family, for a household to make it on a single income. It seems so unattainable, and I think that's the picture that's very heavily painted before our eyes in most situations. Thankfully, through social media, I think that, at least for myself, I'm finding that there really is a large population of stay-at-home moms, and large is relative, but in terms of who's on social media and who is influencing and creating, not because they have the most time to do so, but because it's something that we are so passionate about, and it's something that we want others to understand and believe in their own minds that it really is attainable. So today I'm going to be sharing a little bit about how we have gotten to this place, not in any way saying that we budget perfectly every month, or that everything is just so, or that we have huge houses and nice cars. I just want to share with you some of the realistic, practical ways that we've gotten here, because for so long I was that person that did not really believe or know if it would ever be possible for us. And so in my own mind and heart, I had to say, okay, God, if that's not what you end up doing, even though you've given me this desire to be a full-time homemaker, to stay home with our babies full-time, even before we had them, I just had such a longing to be in the home full-time as a housewife, as a homemaker. And then, of course, when they were born, it just multiplied more and more and more. And so I had to reconcile that within myself and just say, you know what, even if not, God, you are still good, and I'm still going to serve you wholeheartedly, and I need your grace through it, but I'm trying. And here I am in a place where I can tell you, looking back, that he was preparing me all along the way for where we are in this very season of life, and where we've been for over 2 years now. I've been staying home full time for over 2 years, and I'm just really thrilled to get to share with you some of the things that I learned along the way. I was not always excited to learn, but that I did pick up along the way that God taught me. And maybe you're in that place today. Maybe you are wanting to be home full time. Maybe you just want to be home more, and you're not sure if that's ever going to be possible. So this isn't like a cure-all, but hopefully you'll find some insight, some practical tips. And ultimately, I just want to pray that God would be glorified in this, because it is a work that he has done. Like I said, it was a desire of my heart, but it's something that he has brought to fruition through only his perfect timing and will. And so I just want him to receive glory for this. In this video, we are also prepping for our daughter's birthday party. This is the first time that we had done a joint party, and it went really well. We just thought that it would make more sense in terms of their birthdays are only a couple of months apart. We have family that drives from pretty good ways to come and celebrate them, so we just have them drive up once. We'd save money by only doing one party, and it wouldn't be as much work because we'd only be having to do it once, right? So I will drop a few links in the description box of some of my very favorite items that I have invested in for like completely DIY party planning. We always host it in our yard. If the weather's good, it has been every time except for one, which has now been like 5 times. So definitely be sure to check out those links below. But for now, let's get back to the main point of this video. So obviously, one of the main things that goes into having a single income household would be the budget, and what kinds of things are we spending money on versus what kinds of things are we willing to cut back and no longer spend money on. So for us, we've always been boring people, so it's not like we were going out all the time spending tons of money. There were areas that we could cut back and shave off small amounts, like eating out. We cut back on the Amazon packages. We both had our things that we agreed, okay, we can cut that back some, but it still didn't make enough of a difference for us to make up for what I was bringing home. I was not bringing home like a ton. My husband's always been the breadwinner, but what I was bringing home was substantial enough to where even when we got down to just our bills, there really wasn't a way to make it work unless we spent all of our life savings. But that runs out. And I should also mention, this is not in any type of way to brag or spill all of our financial business, but for context, we did not have any major bills other than our house payment. Both of our cars were paid off. My student loans have been paid off. We were graciously and abundantly taken care of by the Lord. early on in our marriage, so we were not having to make large payments every month for anything other than our house payment. We have loosely followed the Dave Ramsey Financial Peace program since before we got married. When we were engaged, we went through that class together, and I'm not saying that that is why we are where we are, but I do believe that, like the Bible tells us, he who is faithful with little will be faithful with much. Like, God sees our obedience in the little things. He sees how we handle what we're given and how we can steward that stuff. And so I believe, not trying to push a prosperity gospel or anything, but I do believe that that scripture is telling us that when we're faithful with little, we will be faithful with much. Like, he can entrust more to us. And it's funny because we don't have more in terms of riches now, but we have more in terms of like quality of life, I would say, and quality time, which is something I'm really big on. But my husband has always been the financial guy. He's always been the spreadsheet guy, the number cruncher, and I like that stuff to an extent. Like, we were both business majors, but I'm also such a creative, like spontaneous, spur of the moment. I like shiny things, I like pretty things, I like fun stuff, and I like trips. And so I am just not the one to like keep us in line with that. I need his accountability in my life for a lot of things, especially finances. So to segue into the second practical tip for how to live on a single income, he had to help me realize that we were going to have to live differently. And I knew that, and I wanted this bad enough that I was prepared to do that. I just didn't know exactly what that was going to look like. It ended up meaning that we sold our house and moved almost 2 hours away to reduce our house payment by over half, to be back closer to his family. My family, praise the Lord, ended up moving with us. If you have watched the videos about our story, then you've heard some of this before. But that was a really hard thing for me to grab hold of, especially because our church family that we had in our old town was really, like, since I really firmed up in my faith, that was my family away from home. And I just had a really hard time with the idea of leaving them and doing life without them. I did not so much have like a sentimental attachment to our house at the time, though we did build it and I liked a lot of things about it. We loved our small group. Goodness, we had just gotten really close with them and things were just going super well. And so a lot of these things kind of were hard to leave behind, but it was just a matter of trusting that God wanted us to leave good things behind because he had better things in store. And like I said, that's not material things necessarily, but just the way that he has worked in our life has been so incredible and so much better than anything we could have imagined. We also had to accept that we were putting some future dreams on hold, or potentially like just taking them off the table altogether. We would love to have acreage and land and possibly incorporate some livestock and all kinds of things like that. Maybe have our own business of some sort within that one day. But where we are right now, being a single income, it's not something that we're going to be able to attain, or at least not in the near future. So that was definitely something that we had to weigh in our minds, like what's the opportunity cost here? Because if we really, really want the farm, then both of us need to keep working, or we're going to have to find a way for him to make a whole lot more money and me still make some money on the side. But if we really, really want to invest in our kids while they're little and just have that precious quality time with them, and put our investment into our family and into our home, then the rest is going to have to wait. There are many things like that I guess you could look at and say, yeah, okay, we gave that up for this. But I feel like I said, we've just gained so much more. So the first thing is budget. The second thing is, how much are you willing to give up? Like, to some people, those things would be absolute non-negotiables. Some people may not be willing to live in a house with one bathroom. And to me, I think people have done this for years and years, like decades, a long time. Like, used to, the bathroom wasn't even inside the house, it was an outhouse. People are still all around the world doing that, you know? So in my mind, I don't even think about that as being that much of a sacrifice. But to some it might be. Like, we talk to some people and they are just astonished that we have a one bathroom house. But yeah, so it's all about what you're really, really wanting to keep. And then the third and final way that I would say we make being able to live on a single income actually possible is through prayer. And I know that that sounds like such a cliche, but let me just tell you how many times I pleaded and begged with the Lord to let me stay home, and he just kept saying, not yet, not yet. And that was not audible from him directly, but it was through my husband. And honestly, from my husband, a lot of the times it was, that's just a no right now. And he wasn't saying it's always going to be a no, but like I said before, he was the practical financial thinker, and he was like, it just does not make sense. I don't understand. And so he also didn't understand my desire. Like, I know that a lot of families are very much on the train of, like, they both have agreed all along that that's what the wife will do, that's what the mom will do. Even before kids, some couples say, like, yeah, we think it's best for you to be home, for that to be where all your efforts go. And that just wasn't the case for us. And it's not something that I resent my husband for. It's just something that, you know, both of our moms worked growing up. So it's not something that he was used to the idea of. And because God had placed that desire directly in my heart, I had to really learn how to be patient with God working on my husband's heart in that. And I actually saw something one time on Instagram that, as good of a desire it is to want to be in the home full time, if it becomes a point of tension between you and your husband, then really what it's become is an idol. So that was something that I had to learn the hard way, and that hurt to hear. And then, of course, to see how everything is played out, and to know that when it happened, when it was supposed to, when God's timing came to fruition, and he had prepared my heart and my mind and my emotions all along the way for the things that I'm doing in this very season, just to see the work of God all throughout. Like, hindsight is 2020, right? To be able to see now, like, how much better his way was than what I always had wanted. And to see where we have ended up now, being so close to both of our families, and just, you know, the many, many miracles that he has done along the way in getting us here. Just to know that if he'd given me what I wanted back whenever I wanted it, that probably, like, a lot of that stuff I would not have gotten the blessing of witnessing. So I'm so grateful for how it worked out for us, even though it was not what I wanted for many years while I was in the workforce. But there is hope. And I'm not saying that it's going to happen for you today or tomorrow or whenever, but I just hope that some of these things have motivated you, if for nothing else, to just have hope for another day, to show up to your job, to show up for your kids, whatever it is that you're in the season of right now, to show up for the rest of today and tomorrow and the next day with a motivation that we're doing our work for the Lord, and that he is working behind the scenes on things that we cannot even imagine. And I say that with such confidence. I say that with such power, because I have seen it firsthand, and I pray that you get to see it as well. Because what the world does not take into account whenever they talk about how impossible it is these days to live off of only one income is how the Lord provides, and how the Lord sustains, and how the Lord carries us and multiplies. Where it seems like things are the most impossible is where God shines the most. He likes to work in the margin. He likes to work in the space where it seems like nothing can be done. That's where we are the most sensitive to the work of God. That's where our eyes are opened the most to what it is that only he could do. I hope that some of these things have been helpful for you, and I hope that you have a great day wherever you're at. I'll catch you next time. Bye, guys.